Hey everyone, welcome back to News for Science. We discuss comics, movies, games, and more. My name is Rodney, and tonight I'm going to be reviewing The Batman. I went to see this movie late last night, and it was fantastic. This movie is on the 3 hour run, just about 2 hours and 56 minutes to be exact, but just call it a 3 hour film because it is a solid, strong Batman film. This movie is directed by Matt Reeves and stars Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne Batman, Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, Colin Farrell as the Penguin, which I didn't recognize whatsoever. And of course, it also stars John Tortoro as Carmine Falcone and Paul Dano as the Riddler, who's the main villain of the movie. Now, this movie was everything I wanted in a Batman film. For the longest time, we've been getting different kinds of Batman movies that have been way over action-packed, but never really focused on an aspect that I want the movies to focus on, and that's the detective element. This movie, Matt Reeves really takes the Batman into a different direction than we've ever seen in any movie, whereas the cartoons or like the animated shorts or the animated films actually does take the Batman into a direction that we're all familiar with if you've read the comics. And that is the detective noir aspect of the Batman character. Many of you know who are Batman fans would be familiar with the Batman being the world's greatest detective. And that's what Batman does. He does his detective work in this movie. You know what's kind of odd is that in this film, Bruce Wayne isn't really Bruce Wayne. He's really Batman just all the time. We see him in the Batman suit more frequently than we ever do see him as Bruce Wayne. But I had theorized before I went into this movie, maybe Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne would learn how to develop that playboy billionaire persona by the time we get to near the end of the film. But no, not really. It's just that we find this Bruce Wayne obsessed with being Batman and obsessed with getting rid of crime in the city. And you know, without sounding like I'm trying to spoil anything, but throughout the movie, Bruce Wayne is just wondering if his vigilantism is making any impact in Gotham, because Gotham in itself is also a character in the Batman movies. You can't have a Batman movie without Gotham, where it's filthy, nasty, full of crime, and it's just disgusting. And Matt Reeves does a great job delivering that and giving us the Gotham that we really know. Obviously, in all Batman films, a lot of the times his origin story is brought up. It's been told 1,000 times. We don't want to hear it again. And Matt Reeves does not show that here. Obviously, we are aware that his parents have been killed because it's mentioned here and there. It never shows the origin. It doesn't show a flashback scene or anything like that. This is supposed to be Bruce Wayne's year 2 of being the Batman. He's still kind of rough around the edges. He's still trying to get used to being the vigilante that Gotham really needs. And oftentimes you do see Batman come across some like rough moments. He's kind of like a stick in the mud, really, and where he's getting hurt by doing these stunts. And you can tell that he hasn't really been doing this for very long. However, he's just nothing but this brooding, dark, and gloomy, bleak figure, just going around obsessed with just getting rid of the filth and the crime that is Gotham City. And he does a really good job doing that and portraying the Batman character. Now, some people may comment and say, well, he wasn't really a good Bruce Wayne. Well, that's not the point of this Batman film. If you go in thinking that you're going to see an eccentric playboy billionaire acting like nothing even matters and acting all oblivious to everything, then this movie is not for you. If you're going to go in wanting a detective noir Batman film, then this movie is for you. Now, again, I theorized that maybe perhaps Bruce Wayne will develop that persona so nobody would ever think or suspect Bruce Wayne being the Batman character, but that doesn't really happen in this movie. It's just basically Bruce Wayne conflicted within himself, just wondering if his vigilantism has made any impact into the city, if it even makes a difference. And you can feel that he's in a lot of pain. You can feel that he thinks that he's more of a failure as this Batman figure. But really, it's just him just wanting to protect the city and save the city. And you can see a lot of the hurt and pain in his eyes. And you've seen this clip online where Bruce Wayne is at a funeral and he sees his child in this church. And the look in his eyes, Bruce Wayne makes direct eye contact with this child, kind of shows that he can kind of relate to that because Bruce Wayne lost his parents as a child. In this scene, it was quite a powerful scene. There's also another sequence that I really love, which was also a giveaway in the trailer, was the chase sequence where Batman was chasing the Penguin. And my God, speak of the Penguin, can you believe that that's played by Colin Farrell? Completely unrecognizable. Colin Farrell not only is unrecognizable, but he changed up his accent and his voice, and it doesn't sound anything like him. I just don't know how he does it. The guy is extremely talented, and I think this is one of his best performances in ages. And also, this isn't Colin Farrell's first outing in a superhero movie. He's played a villain before in a 2003 film called Daredevil, which really sucked. But anyways, the movie rocks. You're gonna love it. If you really love the Batman character and the detective noir kind of films, then this movie is for you. Just about everything about this movie is perfect, but just close to near perfect, really. I mean, there were kind of a little few gripes that I had here and there, but aside from that, I mean, it is a great fun time. If you can actually sit through a 3-hour film, then more power to you. Avengers Endgame did happen, and that movie was about 3 hours and 2 minutes long. So if you love a good superhero movie with a lot of like mystery and a little bit of elements of horror, believe it or not, because this movie does kind of come across as scary. I mean, Batman is this mysterious, mystical figure that a lot of people are just afraid of. Now let's talk about the Riddler for a second, because the Riddler is that kind of character that you see in the comics as kind of like a C-list character. And to elaborate a little bit more on his character, the Riddler to the Batman isn't exactly a posing threat. The Riddler is really more of like a joke character. Like, it's someone who you don't really take serious. It's more like that nerd in the back of the classroom that always goes like, man, leave me alone and stuff like that. Well, in this movie, the interpretation of the Riddler is quite different and very terrifying, believe it or not. Although, admittedly, the character himself, the Riddler, does admit that he is no match for the Batman physically, mind-wise, intellectually, he is a match. And the Riddler pretty much challenges the Batman. He's always trying to one-up the Batman in this one. Not in a comic booky way, in the ways that we've seen him in different mediums, like the comics, the cartoons, you know, the animated series, like, and the video games as well. Because the Riddler's really more or less of an annoying character in those kinds of mediums. But in this one, it kind of borrows elements from like a popular Batman graphic novel called Batman Hush, which is one of my favorite comic books. And if you've seen Batman Hush, the Riddler is the primary villain in that story from the actual animated movie, not the comic book. They took liberties with that, which is an entirely different discussion. But making this version of the Riddler terrifying and just threatening and menacing and just overall creepy was a fantastic idea, and it totally gave a new take on this interpretation of the Riddler, which I really love. And Paul Dano certainly delivered in playing this threatening character in the movie, which if you've seen this movie, you would know how incredibly difficult it is to like find this guy until he really, well, I'm not going to spoil it, but something happens where they eventually catch him. But you've probably seen clips of it already online anyways. It's in the trailer, so it's not really much of a giveaway. But watch the movie anyways. It's fantastic. Paul Dano delivers a great performance as the Riddler. Whenever they show the bat signal up in the sky, it kind of gives off this warning that he's coming and that he could basically be lurking anywhere in the shadows when he really is the shadows. So it's kind of cool how they implemented a little bit of a horror element to his character to make him feel like this scary figure throughout the movie, which really works. And he does come across as an intimidating figure, which really works really well. And Robert Pattinson really delivered, and he did a great job. The guy's a phenomenal actor, and he's a really great Batman. And I'm looking forward to the sequel once that happens, since that's already in development anyways. So I'm pretty excited for that. Overall, guys, The Batman is an entertaining time. Definitely go see it if you get the chance. Please do not post any spoilers. Everything that I just discussed did appear in trailers that we've been seeing online. Just little clips in here. And of course, Zoe Kravitz, who played Catwoman, she's not really addressed as Catwoman. She's really addressed as Selena Kyle. But she did a phenomenal job as the character as well. I really can't wait to see more of her in future installments as well. So anyways, guys, that's The Batman. I'm going to give The Batman a 9 out of 10. Great movie. Great score by Paul Giacchino, who scored the movie. Matt Reeves delivered on his promise where he was going to give us a Batman film we've never seen before, which also explores a lot of the detective element of the film, which I really enjoyed seeing finally realized on the big screen. Anyways, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click on the bell notifications so you all don't miss anything. As always, I will see you all in the next comic panel.